Eric Keesecker, Director of Transportation in Berkeley County Schools, with us in studio. Eric, good to see you again.
Good to see you, Rob. John, Matthew?
Yes, sir.
And via telephone, Louis Mullenax joins us too from Berkeley County Schools. Louis, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Great to have you with us there. You are the Director of Primary Education in Berkeley County Schools, correct?
Yes, I am.
All right, very good. Did you used to be principal at Eagle School?
I was the principal at Eagle School and also Mountain Ridge, and assistant principal at Tomahawk and teacher at Mill Creek. I've been around the Berkeley County school system through my years.
Yeah, you were just around the corner from our studio here. Let's get to the obvious questions first, and that is school out now a fourth day from this winter storm that came through. There are some folks, I know I've seen some complaints in our comments section over the last couple of days about it, and at other places as to why are the schools still closed. I went on I-81 or Route 11, and it seemed pretty clean to me. What's the story, Eric Keesecker?
Well, we don't often get storms like this. This storm that came in produced a lot of snowfall and cold temperatures, and the cold temperatures are keeping the snow and ice on the roads, especially our back roads, our secondary roads. And I got to hand it to the Department of Highways. They're working their tails off trying to get these roads cleared. But it's difficult when you have the low temperatures like we've had, because the salt that they use just doesn't work.
Right, nothing's melting.
Nothing's melting.
Right.
So that's generally the consensus of why the schools are closed, because we want to make sure that, our bus routes are safe.
Where do you get your data to make a decision as to, at some point along the way, enough roads will be clean that you'll say, okay, we'll take the shot now? How do you get your information?
Well, there's my team at the Transportation Department consists of 5 gentlemen who we all have designated parts of the county that we travel, and just based on the visual of what the roads look like. And then we report that. They report back to me. I report to Dr. Sachs and the snow emergency team. There
was a question raised yesterday because we did a segment on homeowners associations, which mainly are responsible for clearing their own roads. Have those been a factor in regards to whether or not you feel it's safe to get buses in and out of neighborhoods?
Some of them. Most of the HOAs do a pretty good job. Now I've been in some developments, and they look great, but there was a few comments made to me yesterday that there are a few that still need a lot of work. However, that's up to the bus driver also, though. If they can't get in the development, then they need to tell us, and they will call parents and let them know, please bring your child to the entrance of the development.
With tomorrow being Friday, are you confident that there will be school tomorrow, or does this look like a whole week wiped out?
I think it's going to depend on what we see this afternoon. Myself and my team are going to go out and check roads to see, what we're looking at based on what we saw yesterday.
We had Louis Mullenax. We had during COVID the development of remote learning. Many people were not a fan of that. And it was at that time speculated that, we'll never have snow days anymore because the infrastructure is in place now that if we have a snow day, we can just do home instruction that day. That kind of never really materialized. Are we anywhere in that mode going forward where you have a 4 or 5 day week wiped out because of a winter storm, that you can go to that as a model?
Well, in Berkeley County, we use a non-traditional calendar, and that's whenever we establish the calendar for school children, they have to go to school so many minutes a day. And with us using a non-traditional calendar, our students actually every student goes an extra 30 minutes a day. That's where we get our professional development days for teachers that the kids are off. And also we get those 5, I call them bank snow days, that the kids do not have to make up, because actually they've already accrued that time. So we've used all 5 of those days after today. So now the state allows us to do 5 remote learning days. And yes, some people are not a fan of those, but what would happen is the kids would then be able to log in, see their teacher, get instruction, and we have a schedule set up that we would send out to parents. And the students that cannot log in, we have an alternate assignment for them to do. The most important things for families to know is, again, be flexible, assist your kids in logging in, and if something would happen that they can't, the kids would have an assignment to do. If they did that assignment and brought it back, then the state accounts them as present for that school day. So we all know how important school attendance is. So either an alternate assignment given by the classroom if you can't get logged in, but logging in, the teacher's taking attendance via that way. And we have a schedule set up so that the students get to see, they get math instruction, they get reading instruction, they get to see their special teachers throughout the day. And if they have any kind of special services, they also are logged in to meet with that teacher.
So school is closed tomorrow. Does this kick in tomorrow?
Well, it would. And again, that puts us in a little bit of a pickle because we couldn't foresee that we were going to have all these snow days. So when the students left for winter breaks, they did not take their iPads. So I've already been in contact with some principals to see who, what, or where, what we're going to do. And we could push out an alternate assignment for the kids to do. That would be something they could do at home and then bring back in with them so that we could utilize that as a remote learning day. Please remember also that if a parent, on a remote learning day, they're having trouble or something's going on, our principals are in the school buildings on those days for the most part at 10 o'clock. So you could call the school, maybe be a little patient if there's several people calling, but you could call the school and talk with the principal to figure out who, what, or where, what could go on. And again, Dr. Sachs has made it well known to, for the principals to be flexible with our parents and understanding.
John?
Yeah, Colin, I don't know. I sent you a picture from of the roads that were on Tuesday afternoon. The Files Cross Road, which is on my route, completely covered. I took a picture of it as I was driving in. So it's not, you can talk about 81 being cleared and some of the other roads. Scrabble Road is which is also a main artery, is in horrible shape. Of course, it's Berkeley County. And so there's a lot of, if I were a bus driver or if I were a parent with a kid getting on a bus, I would not want them to be doing that right now. I do have a question about the hours of learning and that sort of thing. We had, I forget who it was. Senator Grant, I think, was on the radio last week talking about homeschooling. And homeschoolers don't have the same accountability in terms of hours and such. All they have to do is to turn in, pass tests and turn in whatever it is they have to turn in. When it comes to snow days and home learning, can't those same rules sort of be applied?
Well, there are guidelines that we have to abide by that are different from the homeschool regulations that we have. And again, we have to abide by what is set forth by the Department of Education for remote learning days. So we do abide by those so that we can have the remote learning days, which helps parents so that they don't have to reschedule like vacations or things of that nature that they might have, or days off that they've planned accordingly. Because if we would utilize the 5 remote learning days that we had, then we have to go back into our calendar and make up days because we don't have the accumulated time. So then therefore our kids are required to have 180 days of instruction. So then we would have to utilize one of the days that are called OS in our calendar, which we have 4 of them at the very end of the calendar. So we'd have to turn those back into instruction days and bump the calendar. So I think they're a good thing. We just have to make sure that we're doing them the right way so that we don't affect the kids when it comes to at the end of the calendars and vacations and things of that nature.
So, yeah, I think that picture I was talking about has come up on the air. Who makes the decision to close schools? Is that a committee decision? Is it the superintendent on his own? How does that work? And at what time of day is that made?
Well, really, it's Dr. Sachs has the final say, but we tend to use a committee type of decision-making process. I provide the information, give my input, and then to all those members. And it depends on when the storm comes. Generally, we will make a decision by 5 o'clock in the morning so that we can get that message out to parents. But that's the general rule, is we want to make it by 5 o'clock.
Mr. Harvey.
I don't like what if the snow, the weather's so bad that and the cold and the chills, it could go into next week. Is that a possibility that the schools are planning for?
it very well could be a possibility, but we always look, beyond. Like, we know it's going to warm up a little bit this weekend, so the salt and the stuff that the Department of Highways is putting on these roads right now is going to work, because we're supposed to be in the 30s Saturday and Sunday, Monday.
It's going to warm up.
It's going to warm up.
Okay.
So
But then it's gonna
the
refreeze.
expectation that there could be a refreeze, and that's what we would look at early in the morning, and possibly give a 2-hour delay.
Now, the facilities and the buses, the cold temperatures, what kind of effect does that have? And is that taken into consideration, like the temperature, the school's ability to heat itself?
I can't speak about the schools themselves, but I know the school buses over this past week while we were plowing our lot, we started every school bus, let it run, warm up.
Are still mostly diesel engines?
Yes. And the way they make diesels now, we don't really have a problem with fuel gelling.
That's good.
So we don't necessarily. If this cold, we've been plugging them up a little bit, but that's what we do. We get them started, and the folks that park their buses at home, that's part of their responsibility, is make sure they're starting their bus and warming it up and removing the snow.
Eric, I could speak a little bit about the schools. One of the things that we do is we do try to save energy when it comes to heating our buildings. So yes, sometimes when the students are not in the building, we change the thermostat so that we're saving some energy. But we know there are very, very cold temperatures. One of the things that happens is they're not turned so that the heat goes down as low as it normally would. So therefore, the building can be warm all the time. That's a safety precaution for the buildings, because we want to make sure we're taking care of our buildings. Berkeley County Schools puts a lot of money into our buildings, and we want to make sure that we're preserving those and taking care of them. And at the same time, we want to make sure that our kids are comfortable whenever they get to school. So that would be another concern or problem that a principal truly doesn't need. So we do a great job of maintaining our buildings and taking care of that. Very few times do we ever have an issue or concern with when it comes to like our heaters not coming on and things. So
Louis Mullenax is the voice on the telephone. He's the director of
elementary education.
Sorry, my mistake there, Louis. I got that all tongue-tied. When it comes to remote learning in Berkeley County schools, do you have an idea what percentage of your students have good enough access to the internet or broadband to be able to do their assignments in a timely fashion?
Well, I don't have that number off the top of my head. I do know that the internet is provided at a minimum cost through Comcast if people apply through. If you don't have a lot of money that comes into your household or you're considered low income, you can apply for low-cost internet so that, we can give our students an equitable kind of education when it comes to logging in or even having the internet in their homes. So that is an option.
Which requires Comcast being available in the area where you live. I just throw that out, for one who does not have broadband access.
Yeah, well, that's why we have to have alternate assignments. So on the iPads, we have things that are downloaded. The kids can download those before they go home so that, they have access to whatever they need. So we do a lot of downloading on the iPad so that the kids go home, they don't have access. They're able to perform and do the things that they need to do. I just think it's amazing that every one of our kids have an iPad. And that they're able to, that, again, is a level playing field for all of our students so that they can have access to technology that maybe some of them wouldn't get if they were not in the public school system.
So does that make it easier, for example, if the schools are closed, parent wants to go into work, take the kid with them to work, then the access to the iPad allows them to do the remote learning from pretty much anywhere?
They could, yes. They could do what they needed to do on the iPad. We also utilize those iPads, again, whenever the kids are doing their assessments and things of that nature, it makes it much easier. It takes less time because every kid, we're a one-to-one school district, so they have that technology right in their hands. It makes things go a little bit smoother when you're dealing with 20,000 students and trying to get everybody's diagnostic testing done and things of that nature throughout the school year. So it is a good piece. We also, I want to point out there too, we don't want kids always on screen. That's not what we like. So we do manage that so that we don't ever substitute a great teacher being in front of the students and helping them to learn. We also, like I said, we balance that because that's not the purpose of school, is to put a kid in front of a screen. It's to supplement and help and support. So.
Do you have a population of students who are remote-only learning during the school year?
Virtual learners?
Yeah.
We do have a population of virtual learners. Berkeley County Schools provides virtual learning for students. Miss Holly Branch, she is in charge of virtual learning for schools, and we do have, I'm going to average here, probably around 200 kids to 250. Now, that's Holly's, knowledge that she would have there, but she has about 250 kids that we do virtual learning for throughout the school year.
If you select virtual learning, are you locked in for the entire year, or can you kind of float in and out of in-school and then virtual for a while?
Well, you are there. You're locked in for the semester, and there are guidelines that she has set up that a parent goes through, and they know all about before they would say, yeah, this is best for my child. But yeah, we do have it in Berkeley County, and no, you're not locked in for the whole year. It's usually a semester.
I had, during COVID, my next door neighbor's son, who's currently in college, was able to excel at remote learning, but didn't do well in the classroom prior. And it was one of those kids that, for whatever reason, remote learning just kind of clicked, whereas in the classroom, maybe too many distractions, I don't know. But it didn't particularly mesh with that kid. Do you have to pre-screen a kid to approve them to do remote or virtual learning, or do we just kind of enroll, give it a shot, and if it doesn't work out, you got to come into the school?
It's Holly, like I said, Holly Branch takes care of that in Berkeley County Schools, and they do a pre-screener with students and their families to understand what's involved, what it takes. And we have teachers that support virtual learning at the programmatic levels. So again, they do have access to a teacher that logs on, helps them, supports them, double checks to make sure that assignments are being completed and things are done, and grades the students' work. So they do have access to a teacher at the same time.
Shifting gears here, it occurs to me on the transportation issue, there's an element that we haven't discussed, and that is that drivers have to be able to get to the buses in order to get the buses out. So depending on where the drivers live, if the conditions are really bad, that's an issue as well.
Oh, it certainly is. And, I spoke with a few drivers that, asked me about that. And, the situation is if you can't get in, you can't get in. And unfortunately, we've had to cancel routes before. But if we didn't have a sub to cover that route, that's what would happen.
What percentage of your drivers keep the bus at their house overnight?
About 40%.
No, that's not enough. I'm not criticizing the 60%. I'm saying that's not enough that you would be willing to risk 60% trying to get to their buses. Is my point on that one.
Right. This came up in conversation. Actually, it was a Facebook thing. When I was in 7th or 8th grade, junior high school, a snowstorm came up in the middle of the day, and I was bused quite a distance. It took us almost 8 hours to get from the school to home. And this is before cell phones or anything else. And my parents were beside themselves with worry and then anger and everything. So being conservative with this and erring on the side of staying home is probably not. I say this, I don't have kids at home, but
not the worst thing.
It's probably safety first, right?
Yeah. Now I do remember that brought a memory back. We had a situation, I think it was in 2012 or 2013, where we got hit with a snowstorm, and no one predicted it. It hit us, and almost the same situation, because I think we had to rescue about 15 buses. And that was we still weren't our communications weren't as good as they are now, and so we had to field a lot of phone calls.
Eric Keesecker is the Director of Transportation in Berkeley County Schools. He's in studio. Louis Mullenax via telephone, Director of Primary Education, who has spoken with us in regards to remote learning, which would, in theory, kick in tomorrow if schools are canceled again tomorrow. What accommodations do you have to make for your buses for winter weather, Eric? Do we do chains on tires anymore? Is that optional for the bus drivers, or
no? We did a mandatory change years ago. We look at it this way now: if you're going to be using chains, it's to get out of a situation. We're not going to put chains on to get into a situation.
I imagine the Department of Highways was never a big fan of the chains.
No.
I remember studded tires.
Yeah.
Because I remember working at a gas station where we actually shot the studs into the tires, and I know the highway department was never a big fan of those either. So what are you going to do? When do you anticipate getting enough information to make a call about tomorrow, Eric?
Well, I haven't spoken to Dr. Sachs about this, but I would think that we're going to make a decision sometime this evening. I want to get my team out to assess the road conditions right before we make that decision, so we have an up-to-date evaluation.
Do you consult with any other counties before you make a call, neighboring counties?
We do. We talk to Morgan County and Jefferson County and sometimes Washington County to see what they're going to do, what they're experiencing. Every county is a little bit different in their how the county's laid out geographically, but it's always nice to know what they're doing also.
Lewis, you were about to say?
Actually, I was going to say we also consult with our principals. Yesterday, we were looking pretty good. The wind picked up in some of the areas, especially I'm going to say down the southern part of the county, and where we had cleared out parking lots and things were good. Our custodians had done a great job of getting everything, sidewalks treated. Maintenance had made sure, and the contractors that we have cleaning our parking lots, they were great. And then all of a sudden, I do check in with all the principals and talk to Dr. Sachs. We had pictures of what our parking lots were looking like later. So again, we were trying to get the kids back. So we called that 2-hour delay. And then as time progressed, our parking lots were filling back full of snow. Our sidewalks were covered again. And we had to say, we can't go in today because there wasn't enough time to get everything cleared back out. So the principals also play a role in helping us to determine who, what, or where when they look at each facility to make sure that we are ready for kids.
I only have a minute left here. Go ahead, John.
Just real quick, what is the anatomy of the 2-hour delay? What are you buying by delaying 2 hours?
Mostly light.
Okay.
We're not out. Like, we want the drivers to be able to see what's in front of them, and when we're picking up the high school students, it's always dark.
Quick question, because we don't have a lot of time. Why is it not possible if one area of the county is cleared, maybe it's the city part of the county, why can't we open up these schools here and keep the other ones closed?
Well, I think that's what we were thinking about for today when we were looking at the 2-hour delay. We do have the flexibility of, if a parent would feel that it's not safe or whatever, or bus would say we can't go up that particular run, we could contact that home and let them know that we could be flexible with that family and those students, but maybe have school for the rest of the county. So again, I'd say you might see that in the future, especially with the situation that we had, like that's happening right now.
Quick word, Eric, on that?
Yeah, just to repeat what Lewis said, in the past we've always closed schools, no matter what, but we are trying to make sure we can get students to school safely, and we're working on something in that light to make sure that, even though if there's weather in one area and there's not in another, at least be able to get those kids to school that can go.
Eric Keesecker, Lewis Mullenax, thank you so much. Appreciate your time this morning.
Thank you.
Thank you.